the one and only Ahmed Ali. Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
And then I started doing more research and I found you, and I hate doing videos, but the coaching calls was one of the things. And then you had another video that caught my eye where it was specific, outside of the PMP, but I knew this is real content. This is things that will be on exam, right?
I did hard work for sure, but I think the follow-up, sir, you did. I don't know how you managed to do the follow-up. With one particular student like me, you have hundreds of students. You are just keeping an eye on each of the students. So after my hard work, I can say that the credit goes to you, sir. That is for sure.
Hi Amir, good morning. Yes, I cleared the exam. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your support. And this has happened only because of the customized roadmap and mocks, and you always keep on asking us to do proper RCA, detailed RCA. It happened only because of the detailed RCA. Yes, this RCA helped me a lot.
Thank you for all this guidance and support you gave me. Mr. Amir, thanks for our team.
So I was just looking at his post, like who cleared the PMP, and he used to post the success stories on daily basis. So I reached out to Alina and I asked her how is this program or something. So she said you can trust him and you should join this program if you are looking for it.
It was a very customized base feedback that I was getting from sir, from you.
So yes, follow-up is very important, and thank you very much for that. It made me accountable. If you didn't ask me this often, I would have slacked off more.
I would say your course was super important. I think this was the main part, once you understand the course, and then I think the mocks were super important. Your emphasis on mocks, you kept nagging us that, get this mock done, do RCA. All of this was super helpful because pushes were they were similar. So yeah, mocks were, there are so many mocks that you have, and if you do all of them, I'm pretty sure anybody who goes who does them can easily clear a PMP.
Amir, first of all, thank you so much. I think without your guidance, it took me one complete year. I was preparing for PMP through books and everything. So I was giving some mocks also available online, and I was not able to, have that confidence that I'll be able to clear. But I'm telling you, after attending the classes, especially after doing the mocks, doing the RCAs, I was feeling confident enough that yes, I can attempt it. And the day you told me to book your exam, I still asked you that are you sure that I can give the exam? And you said yes, you are ready.
First of all, I thank you a lot for the privilege, because when I started encounter with your program through LinkedIn, so some of your thoughts, always motivating me, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it. So I always follow you, almost everything, all your journeys. I watch all of them, even the one that they speak in your local language.
So that was not an easy journey, and it would not be possible without you. I really appreciate the support. He was always available for my questions and always put me in the right direction. And actually, if I want to say how was the journey, my journey started 2 years back when I first called you for the SP, and then you directed me to PMP, and then we did SP after that, and then you tricked me to do the PGMP.
Thank you so much, and again, Amir, thank you so much, and your mocks are really good. I mean, everyone should do your mock for sure, and then they will be all prepared for the exam. And trust your program.
And then you came with your follow-ups, and that kind of really boosted me. Those daily follow-ups, making sure that I was getting the mocks that I needed to do completed, and following up on me, it really boosted my motivation again. And as I was started doing those mocks, I got an opportunity for a job which required me to have PMP. So I had to go for PMP before I get the interview.
Mostly coaching goal is for you understand how you will solve the question. Mostly it is like that. We can only do the 10 or 12 questions, maybe less than that. But main thing is it will come into your bones that you have to do elimination technique. So you cannot go just, okay, this is the answer, I will go directly put this answer. That is the main thing. It will come into you that you have to do elimination technique. That is the best thing for coaching on.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, with the right guidance from yourself, I managed to do good in the exam and to clear the PMP. I would say that your approach was really helpful because I'm not that type of a person who would sit there and read a lot of theoretical things to get things done. I'm more of a practical person who would prefer practicing over sticking to the theoreticals. And
I would definitely say that the root cause analysis for me was the key. And here's why. Is some people try so hard to memorize all the processes and how they're all linked together. And if you do this, then you got to do that. And some people, maybe they think that way. That was very hard for me. It was just a lot to memorize. I'm not Amer Ali. I can't do that. So for me, just the process of actually answering the questions with your technique of process of elimination. And then if you're left with always like two answers, which one do you do? And if you get it wrong, you have to go do the root cause analysis. So thank you, sir. Yeah, thank you very much for everything. Fantastic. I would not have done as well as I had done if I hadn't had the foundation that you gave me, for sure.
Who here wants to be successful? Raise your hands.
Hi guys, good to have you. So today Jane will be leading the coaching call. So Jane, please go ahead, and she has awesome 15 question that you are gonna love. One of the hardest question ever. So Jane, over to you. Please share this.
Thank you so much, Amar. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, and wherever you are. This is Jane Martina, facilitator from Amar's team. So today we'll be solving 15 questions made by the certified PMPs. So without much delay, let's get to the session. So let's get into the first question. An agile project is underway for a mixed use building project where on-site crews and design team work in short sprints to adapt fit-out details. Frequent site constraints force backlog reshuffling, and several trade specialists have started disengaging from stand-ups, saying it's pointless since plans keep changing. The foreman privately says the mood on the on-site is very low. It's low, and sprint goals are being met with minimal enthusiasm. So which approach is effective to restore engagement? So let's go to the options. A, hold a backlog review that emphasizes how evolving priorities contribute to overall project success. B, invite the affected specialists to propose refinements to sprint goals that still align with delivery milestones. C, share positive examples from other agile construction pilots to reinforce the value of adaptive planning. D, introduce recognition moments at end of each sprint to highlight contributions despite plan changes.
Don't solve it now. Let them answer for 70 seconds then.
Okay. Okay. I think still 20 seconds more because I pressed it a little earlier. So. Okay, so let's get back to the question to see identifying the keywords. The first keyword is an agile pilot project. So it means that it follows agile, And then if you are looking out for a problem statement here, frequent site constraints forces the backlog reshuffling. So there are several trade specialists who have started disengaging. So this is the problem statement. Okay, so when you read the question again, which approach is effective to restore engagement? So going back to the options here, let's read all the options once again. Hold a backlog review that emphasizes how evolving priorities contribute to overall project success. This option says why, to identify why it has been happening. Okay, so how evolving priorities contribute to overall project success, backlog review. Option B, invite affected specialists to propose refinements to sprint goals that still align with delivery milestones. So this option seems to be like it also invites the affected specialists who have started disengaging to propose the refinements, because they are very much not happy about the backlog reshuffling. So asking them to propose a refinement to sprint goals, which is aligned again to the sprint goals with the delivery milestone. So this option seems to be more relevant to this particular scenario. But no, we have to go through C and D to eliminate. Share positive examples from other agile construction pilots to reinforce the value of adaptive planning. Yes, this will be informative, but if you see whether it will resolve the problem of restoring engagement, I don't see option here. So let's eliminate it. Option D, introduce recognition moments at the end of each sprint to highlight contributions despite plan changes. So again, introducing recognition may or may not resolve this restore engagement. So from the options given, B stands as more relevant to restore engagement. So let's move on to the next question. Question 2. A hospital renovation project has fixed completion date due to regulatory inspection schedules. The contractor warns that the custom medical gas system might arrive 2 weeks late, risking the final inspection timeline. No contingency is built into the current schedule. What is the best immediate step for the project manager? So let's go to the options. Option A, analyze how the delay affects the critical path and identify possible resequencing options. Option B, discuss temporary installation alternatives with the contractor while awaiting delivery. C, review the procurement contract to determine potential acceleration clauses. Option D, consult the quality team to see if partial inspections can be arranged before full installation. So now we are going with the 70-second timer. Okay, so going back to the question to see which project life cycle it follows. So this says there is a fixed completion date due to regulatory inspection schedule. So this means It falls under the predictive life cycle. And then here they say like no contingency is built, means this particular item was not identified as a risk earlier. So again, the contractor wants that the custom medical gas system might arrive 2 weeks late, so risking the final inspection timeline. So what is the best immediate step for the project manager? So let's review the options here. So here it says analyze how the delay affects the critical path and identify possible resequencing options. So this is like reprioritizing or scheduling or managing the schedule, prioritizing and seeing how this delay will affect the critical path and then identifying possible resequencing options. So this seems to be the more better option. But option B says discuss temporary installation alternatives with the contractors while awaiting delivery. This option seems to be an action item even before analyzing how much it is going to impact the critical path. So let's go to the option C. Review the procurement contract to determine potential acceleration clauses. Can be done, but whether it is going to resolve the inspection schedule time, not sure. So likely it is not very good option. Option C, consult the quality team to see if partial inspections can be arranged before full installation. Also, this is like incomplete action item for the particular problem statement. So when we analyze these 4 options and when we use the elimination technique, option A seems to have analyzed how much it is going to impact the critical path and then identifying possible resequencing options seems to be the better option. So let's move on to the next question. Question 3. Midway through a cross-department digital transformation, an executive sponsor learns that a competitor has launched a similar solution and urges the team to pivot towards a new future set. The pivot would require rescoping 2 work streams, delaying existing deliverables. Other stakeholders are unaware of this request. Which action would best address the sponsor's request? A. Gather preliminary feasibility input from workstream leads before briefing the full stakeholder group.
Jane, can you make a little bit down? That sharing bar is there. The sharing bar in between. Okay. When you share the screen, if you see at the bottom, yeah, take it a little bit down or maybe up.
Okay.
That is good. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Gather preliminary feasibility input from workstream leads before briefing the full stakeholder group. Option B, review the original business case to assess alignment between the new features and intended project value. Option C, request the sponsor to outline expected benefits so these can be compared with current priorities. Option D, share the potential pivot impact with all stakeholders to enable a joint decision on next step. So here goes the timer. Okay. So going back to the question, it says across department digital transformation is happening, and the sponsor learns that the competitor has launched a similar solution and asks the team to work towards that new feature. So here they have analyzed, like they would require rescoping two work streams, delaying existing deliverables. So other stakeholders, except the executive sponsor and the project team, other stakeholders are unaware of this request. So which action would best address the sponsor's request? How we are going to address this executive sponsor's request? So going back to the options, option A says, okay, you gather preliminary feasibility input from the workstream leads before briefing the full stakeholder group. This is again like very tactical of how you will handle it, but whether this is the best to address the sponsors, let's check the other options. Option B, review the original business case to assess alignment between new features and intended project value. So this option is like more towards, even though there is a new feature launched by the competitor, you go back to the business case and see whether this new feature and is aligned with the project value. So this option is like more relevant of what you have to do next before even considering the request from sponsor. So C, request the sponsor to outline expected benefits so these can be compared with current priorities. Again, this focuses on the benefits, but doesn't validate against the agreed objectives of the business case. So option D, share the potential pivot impact with all stakeholders to enable a joint decision on the next steps. So this is like, this might cause unnecessary noise between other stakeholders of whether to take it up or not, because they are in the midway through the transformation. So from these options, using our elimination technique, option B stands out to be the more relevant option. So moving on to the next question. Question 4. Two agile teams depend on a shared API.
One more thing, Jen. When you see the answers of the people, you can see the answers, and I'm not sure you will be able to see or not. Are you able to see the answers people doing on the?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
But no, Amar, I cannot see because my
Okay.
the PPT is
Okay,
currently.
that's okay. That's okay. This means only owner can see. That's okay. No problem.
Yeah.
Continue, please.
Okay. So if anything, you can just let me know so that I can, if you want, I can answer that.
Yeah, sure. That's okay. I guess only I can see that. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. So going, I think we'll start again. Two agile teams depend on a shared API. One team needs a breaking change for their sprint goal. The other wants that implementing it now will cause them to miss their own commitments. The release train engineer is unavailable until next week, and both teams are escalating frustrations. Which approach is most appropriate in this situation? Option A, arrange a joint working session to explore alternatives that minimize disruptions to both teams' sprint goals. Option B, document both teams' needs and delay the change until a coordinated release can be planned. Option C, encourage each team to adjust the sprint scope to observe the impact of the API change. Option D, capture the risk in the dependency log and revisit during the next program increment planning. And here goes the timer. Okay, time's up. So let's get to the question. So this says agile teams. So it is agile. And here there is the issue of conflict management. So there is a conflict between two teams and they are escalating frustrations to the project manager. So which approach is most appropriate in this situation? So going back to the answers, obviously it will have terms that is related to conflict management resolution technique. So let's see. Option A, arrange a joint working session to explore alternatives that minimize disruption to both teams' sprint goals. So this is more towards collaborating. So you bring in both them, joint working session to explore what are the alternatives that minimize the disruption. So option B, document both teams' needs and delay the change until a coordinated release can be planned. So this seems to be like, yes, you are addressing the needs, but you are delaying. So it is going to be smoothing. Excuse me. Option C, encourage each team to adjust sprint scope to absorb the impact of the API change. So this more reflects towards compromise. And D, capture the risk in the dependency log and revisit during the next program increment planning. Again, this is like you are capturing, but you are delaying because you are revisiting during the next program increment planning. So this is again, it's a smoothing. So from these options, I think we can directly go with option A, as this is most relevant to the collaborative way of solving the issue. So moving on to the next question. A global software program using a hybrid approach is integrating new compliance requirements mid-phase. Remote teams in 3 countries must adjust feature delivery, but time zone gaps and differing interpretations of the requirement are causing inconsistent changes. Which choice best reduces the compliance risk while maintaining the progress? And the options are A, establish a shared compliance checklist agreed upon by all teams, reviewed at daily sync points. Option B, centralize compliance decision with the main office to ensure uniform interpretation. Option C, assign regional leads to interpret the requirement locally and align outputs at milestone reviews. Option D, pass lower priority features until compliance changes are fully incorporated into all work streams. Okay, time's up. So this question is having the keyword hybrid approach, and the problem statement mentioned here says that they are having an impediment, that is a challenge of coordinating and because of the time zone gaps. So to address this, how and what is the best choice to reduce the compliance risk while maintaining the progress? So if you go back to the options, option A says establish A shared compliance checklist agreed upon by all teams, reviewed at daily sync points. Yes, this seems because they have a different time zone gaps, and everybody is having different interpretations. So this option seems to be like addressing both the things. Like they have a shared compliance checklist agreed upon by all teams, and they review it at the daily sync points. This seems to be more relevant, but let's go back and see other options to eliminate it. B, centralized compliance decisions with the main office to ensure uniform interpretation. Maybe maybe applicable, but the problem here is if they have to wait for the centralized decision from the main office, it might delay and create bottlenecks for the different time zones. So this again is not a best solution. Option C, assign regional leads to interpret the requirement locally and align outputs at the milestone reviews. No, this might unnecessarily cause changes at the review level, which is like very hectic and which is not a preventive method of doing it. Rather than it will go and cost it in corrective way. So no, option D, pass lower priority features until compliance changes are fully incorporated into all work streams. So this is unnecessarily making delay in not implementing the features, which is not right. Though yes, they have to focus on compliance changes, but that doesn't mean the other feature priority has to be passed on. So from this options, option A stands to be the most relevant, best approach for this particular scenario. So moving on to the next question. Okay. Hospital's hybrid IT facility upgrade is behind schedule due to late delivery of specialized imaging equipment. A sudden regulatory inspection date has been set earlier than expected, and leadership pressures the team to meet it. Clinical staff and technical teams are clashing over which activities should take priority, creating friction during the joint planning sessions. Which steps should be taken first to address the situation? Option A, open a joint review session to agree on the minimum viable set of activities that must be completed before inspection. Option B, map all critical tasks against the new inspection date, highlighting overlaps that require cross-team coordination. Option C, consult the project stakeholders' engagement plan to determine the best approach for addressing inter-team disagreements. Option D, create an adjusted delivery roadmap showing how each team's priorities contribute to regulatory readiness. Sorry, I think. Yeah. So the time's up. So here the question says hybrid, and there are two teams. The clinical staffs and the technical teams are clashing over which activity should take priority. So they have some conflict among the priority of which should be done before the regulatory inspection date. So the question also says a sudden regulatory inspection date has been set earlier than expected, and the leadership pressures the team to meet it. So they cannot negotiate the date. So with this keywords, let's dive into the options. Let's see in the question, what should be taken first to address the situation? So if you see the option A, here it says open a joint review session to agree on the minimum viable set of activities that must be completed before inspection. So here even this seems to be like a more of a collaborative option, but here there is a minimum viable set of activities defined. There is a negotiation in the scope preliminary to the set. This is a hybrid project, and they are talking about the minimum viable set of activities, which is like causing a scope negotiation here for the activity to be done. So let's get to the option B. Here they are mapping all critical tasks against the new inspection date, highlighting overlaps that require cross-team coordination. So here first they are identifying the critical task that align to the new inspection date, and then they are highlighting what are all the teams they have to coordinate and work on it. So these also like more of a collaborative thing, but they are not talking about minimum viable set, but here they are talking about the critical task. So let's see option C. Consult the project stakeholder engagement plan to determine the best approach for addressing inter-team disagreements. Yes, this uses, according to PMI's principles, that you will always consult an engagement plan to determine the best approach for addressing inter-team disagreements. But this will not be the immediate step because it's due to the pressure from the leadership, and the date has been set earlier. So there is a limited time to go and look into this, but they have to immediately get into the action plan. But this is more aligned towards PMI's options. So let's keep these and get back to it. And option D, create an adjusted delivery roadmap showing how each team's priorities contribute to the regulatory readiness. It is again changing the roadmap just for the regulatory readiness for this inspection. So when all these options, option B aligns more towards action item for this particular scenario where the leadership pressures the team and the date has been set earlier and it is a regulatory inspection. So option A, option C, option D also seems to be more relevant and aligned to it. But option B here highlights what exactly needs to be done and how they can coordinate and overlap with the cross-team coordination. So here they are again insisting on collaborative action and also like how to sequence or schedule the activities that is aligned with that particular scenario. Okay, moving on to the next question. Question number 7. An enterprise transformation program in predictive mode relies on two major vendor contracts. A PMO analyst reports that one vendor's performance metrics are trending below SLA for the past month, and there's a risk of missed milestones in the next quarter. No formal impact analysis has been completed yet. What should be done first? Options are review contract terms with the procurement team to identify potential remedies if the SLA breach is confirmed. Option B, conduct a structured probability and impact analysis to quantify the project schedule and cost implications. Option C, convene a cross-vendor coordination meeting to explore adjustments that reduce dependency bottlenecks. Option D, log the risk in the register with provisional scoring and update at the next government's review. Okay, the time is up. So this question is more towards identifying and registering the risk. So here it is in the predictive mode, and the PMO analyst reports that one vendor's performance metrics are trending below the SLA for the past month. And there's a risk of missed milestones in the next quarter. And it says no formal impact analysis has been completed yet. So what should be done first? So this is a keyword. No formal impact analysis has been completed yet, and they have identified a risk. Okay, so coming back to the options, option A says, okay, you review the contract terms with the procurement team and identify potential remedies if SLA breach is confirmed. So even they have identified that their performance is trending below the SLA. So this option seems to be like, okay, this is an action item, can be there. Option B, conduct a structured probability and impact analysis to quantify the potential schedule and cost implications. Since in the question it has said there is no formal impact analysis has been done yet, yes, this can be a better option. Option C, convene a cross-vendor coordination meeting to explore adjustments that reduce dependency bottlenecks. Yes, can be there. But before this, you have to see whether this risk is really going to impact. So this can be done after the impact has been done, impact analysis has been done. Option D says log the risk in the register with provisional scoring, okay, and update at the next governance review. This seems to be more aligned with the PMI's work. But this part of the option says update at the next governance review. So among the options, since I find that no formal impact analysis has been done, so option D seems to be like you first log the risk in the register, but the provisional scoring is nothing but carrying out the impact analysis and update the next governance review because it is going to be in the next quarter. So this option is more aligned with the PMIs. So moving on to the next question. Question number 8. During sprint planning for a cross-functional agile initiative, a newly engaged stakeholder insists on reordering backlog priorities, citing direct instructions from the CEO. Okay. The product owner is hesitant to respond without clear guidance. Team members are looking to you for the direction. Which approach is most appropriate at this point? Option A, validate the stakeholders' input against the agreed product vision and current sprint goals before considering changes. B, refer to the stakeholder engagement strategy, determine how to handle late stage influence on backlog priorities. Option C, arrange a discussion between the stakeholder, product owner, and sponsor to align on priority setting authority. Option D, capture the requested changes in the backlog and flag them for consideration during the next refinement session. The time. Oops. Okay, so the time's up. So here, the newly engaged stakeholder, so this is an agile initiative. Newly engaged stakeholder insists on reordering the backlog because the direction has come from the CEO. So now the product owner is hesitant to respond without clear guidance. So here he has to respond based on whether it can be taken into consideration or not. So now what will be your most appropriate at this point? So whenever there is a new requirement that is being added in the middle of the sprint, okay, so the product owner has to respond to it. So what whether to be considered it or not, always we have to go back to our agreed product vision and the current sprint goal. So option A says validate the stakeholders input against the agreed product vision and the current sprint goals before considering changes. So even though if it is citing direct instructions from the CEO, the product owner has to respond. So if they have this request validated against the agreed product vision and current sprint goals, yes, they can consider the changes and they can add into the backlogs. So option A seems to be relevant. Option B, refer to the stakeholder engagement strategy to determine how to handle late stage influence on the backlog priorities. Yes, you can refer to the strategy and how to do it. But here, even if you want to add it to this, let's see whether this holds good. Checking on the other options. Option C says arrange a discussion between the stakeholder, product owner, and sponsor to align on the priority setting authority. So even before considering these changes with the product vision and the sprint goals, asking them to align on the priority of how to do this request, how to implement this request, I don't think it is going to be relevant. Option D says capture the requested changes in the backlog and flag them for consideration during the next refinement session, can be an option too. But when you see that the product owner is hesitant and it has come from the CEO, so you should be always going back to the product vision, compare it whether this is going to be in aligned with the product vision and the sprint goals before considering the changes seems to be more relevant option here compared to the all. So we stick with option A. Moving on to the next question. Question 9. An ERP compliance upgrade is in its final phase. Legal and IT leads disagree on the interpretation of a key regulations, each citing contractual language to support their position. The launch date is in 8 weeks. The steering committee meets in 2 weeks. What is the most suitable next step? Option A, facilitate a joint review of regulations with both leads and a neutral compliance expert to identify acceptable interpretations. Option B, document both positions and present them at next steering committee meeting for a resolution. Option C, refer to the compliance management plan to outline the process for resolving regulatory interpretation disputes. Option D, request written clarification from regulatory body to remove ambiguity before proceeding. So here goes the timer. Okay. So decoding the question. So it says it's in an ERP compliance is in the final phase. So there are two teams, legal and IT leads. They are disagreeing on conflict. There is a conflict, which is like key regulation, which is a key regulation citing the contractual language to support their position. So there is a conflict on the key regulations for the compliance project, and the launch date is in 8 weeks. The steering committee meeting is in 2 weeks. So when there is this question talks about two things, there is a conflict between the two teams, and also there is a compliance uh, requirement or interpretation of that requirement. So what should be done? What is the most suitable next step? So option A says facilitate a joint review of regulations with both leads, and here it adds a neutral compliance expert, subject matter expert, to identify acceptable interpretations. This seems to be a collaborative way of solving the conflict. And also it not only facilitate both the teams, but also has a neutral compliance expert who is an SME to facilitate and identify the interpretation, whether what is their understanding is right or not. So this seems to be more aligned with the PMI's conflict resolution, but we have to go through B, C, and D as well. So option B says document both positions and present them at next steering committee meeting for resolution. So you will not go to the steering committee meeting for resolution. So this is again like you document it, but you delay. Okay. Sorry for it. So it is like more of a smoothing option. So go to the option C, refer to the compliance management plan to outline the process for resolving regulatory interpretation disputes. This seems to be more of a PMI aligned where you go and refer to that plan. But here the trick is there is something called compliance management plan, which is not part of the 18 plans, right? So we can directly eliminate this option. Option D says request written clarification from regulatory body to remove ambiguity before proceedings. So you write the clarification to the regulatory body and you wait for them to do, which may unnecessarily delay. This is a good option where you directly write to them, but again it is like you can do it after. For me, I will first go with option A because here this says collaborative way of solving it with a subject matter expert, and maybe when they start working you can get a formal request written clarification, but this is not the first step to be done. This is a good option, but so we'll go with option A. So I think we are moving on to the next question. In month 18 of a 24-month infrastructure project, repetitive tasks and lack of visible recognition or lowering morale among the field engineers. Okay, so the productivity has dipped, though schedule performance is still within the baseline. So which is the most effective step to address this issue? Engage supervisors to identify quick win recognition opportunities that are meaningful to the engineers. Review historical performance trends to determine whether the productivity decline is seasonal or systemic. Option C, involve engineers in identifying process improvements that could make repetitive work more engaging. Option D, highlight upcoming project milestones that showcase the importance of their current task. So the timer goes. Okay, so here let's figure out what this question is talking about. Here they are saying they are in 18 of 24 months and still there are some months of work is remaining here. And the problem here is they are having repetitive tasks and they are having lack of visible recognition. Because of that, they are having low morale among the field engineers, even though there is no impact to the schedule performance, but they are having productivity issue. So coming back to this options, this question is asking the most effective step to address this issue. So from this option, let's dig into the options and see which is going to resolve the issue of bringing back to the productivity and bringing back of their involvement in this activity. So option A says engage supervisors to identify quick win recognition opportunities that are meaningful to engineers. Okay, this is like you are giving them a recognition, but identifying the root cause of why they are lacking the moral is not addressed here. So option B, review historical performance trends to determine whether the productivity decline is seasonal or systematic. This option will give you to understand why or where the productivity decline is happening. But here in this question, they have very clearly mentioned the repetitive tasks and the visible recognition of or the reason for their low morale. So here, just identifying as seasonal or systemic is irrelevant. So I'm eliminating this option. Option C says involve engineers in identifying process improvements that could make repetitive work more engaging. So this seems to be like addressing the underlying issue of the repetitive task. So involving them, getting the feedback from them for identifying how this process can be improved and making them work on it seems to be more of addressing the root cause of the issue. Option D, highlight upcoming project milestones that showcase the importance of their current task. So this is again like you are temporarily showing them like how the project milestones will cause their showcase the importance of their current task. So for me when we are analyzing the options, so option C identifies the root cause and address it. So option C is more relevant for this question. So moving on to the next question. Question number 11. In a large bridge project, heavy rainfall has delayed concrete curing. The baseline schedule shows zero flow for critical path activities. Contractors suggest doubling shifts while the finance department warns of budget overruns if acceleration is approved. So what should the project manager do first? Reassess the critical path and quantify the actual schedule slippage before considering resource acceleration. Option B, propose overtime shifts immediately to protect milestone delivery and minimize downstream delays. Option C, apply schedule compression techniques such as crashing and fast tracking to evaluate their feasibility. Option D, document the delay as a risk and present a revised cost schedule trade-off to the steering committee. And here goes your time. Okay, so time's up. So here the question is like the baseline schedule shows zero float, so there is no time that they can work on the critical path because of this rainfall has occurred. So they are suggesting doubling shifts while the finance department wants budget overruns. So what should be done? Okay, so what should be done first? The question asks about what should be done first. So that is one keyword here. Again, reassess the critical path and quantify the actual schedule slippage before considering resource acceleration. Obviously, resource acceleration and schedule compression needs to be done because of this no zero float is there. But whether we are assessing the critical path and quantifying is one activity that we need to do even before going into the process of schedule compression and resource acceleration. Okay, so option A seems to be a more relevant option. Option B says propose overtime shifts immediately to protect milestone delivery and minimize downstream delays. Yes, this can be an option, but here this lacks of assessing the critical path and going in for the which will have a better workaround for this scenario. Okay, so option C, apply schedule compression techniques such as crashing and fast tracking to evaluate their feasibility. Yes, here you do the action item even before analyzing. So here they says first evaluate their feasibility and then go back and apply it. It is not you don't apply the compression technique, crashing or fast tracking to evaluate their feasibility. So the option seems to be like more of a relevant thing, which is aligned with the PMI, but the sequencing is incorrect. So option D is document the delay as a risk and present a revised cost schedule trade-off to the steering committee. So this is not risk, but it is an issue. So this you can directly eliminate it. So from these options, so analyzing the actual slippage even before considering resource acceleration is the first thing you have to do. So we'll stick with option A. So going on to the next question. A hospital project combines predictive facility construction with agile IT system deployment. Midway, a regulatory body issues new patients' privacy rules affecting both work streams. Teams are unsure how to adjust scope and compliance deliverables. What is the best action at this stage? Update the risk register with the new regulations and assign owners to evaluate its cross work stream impacts. Option B, review the compliance management framework to determine whether the scope realignment must pass through the integrated change control. Option C says organize a workshop with both construction and IT teams to identify practical adjustments to meet the new regulations. D, capture the regulatory change in the backlog and prioritize it for upcoming iterations while noting constructions updates separately. So here goes the timer. Okay, coming back to the question, decoding the question. So here it says they have combined predictive with agile. So it means a hybrid environment. Okay, so midway, a regulatory body issues a new patient privacy rules affecting both work streams. So they are very unsure about how to adjust scope and compliance deliverables. So that means in midway, there is a regulatory requirement has been there, which they have to be doing it. They cannot place it at the end of the or for review. So that is what it is. The keywords from the question says. So what is the best action at this stage? So let's see option A. It says update the risk register with the new regulation and assign owners to evaluate its cross workstream impacts. No, it is not a risk, but it has happened. They have regulatory body issues. This issue is not the issue with the risk. They have given that new patient privacy rules has to be done, which affects the work of both the teams, both the work streams. So that means this has already happened. So you can eliminate option A. Option B, review the compliance management framework to determine whether scope realignment must pass through integrated change control. So that means you have to go to the framework to check whether any changes for the regulatory body issues has to go through the change control board and get approval if they wanted to implement it or not, because it was not a risk, it has happened, this is an issue. So whether to, and in this question you can see how to adjust the scope and the deliverable. So that means there is a change in the scope and obviously there will be change in the cost. So when there is changes to these two things, the change control board has to approve it to use the reserve, because it is not an issue and it is not accessing the contingency reserve, but it might use the management reserve. So they need change control boards approval or acceptance for implementing it. C, organize a workshop with both construction and IT team to identify practical adjustments to meet the new regulations. This seems to be a collaborative option, but even though you go and have an option with them to meet the new regulations, this you will do only after getting a proper approval from the change control board to go along with it or not. So first step should be you should get the CCB. So I think okay, let's go to the option D. Capture the regulatory change in the backlog and prioritize it for upcoming iterations while noting constructions updates separately. But this are updates only for the agile, but this question is about hybrid. So eliminating these options A, C, and D, we choose the option B. Moving on to the next question. In an agile enterprise transformation, developers express fatigue with constant reprioritization of features. Burnout indicators appear in retrospectives, but velocity has not yet declined. The sponsor insists on sustaining the same pace. What should the Scrum Master do first? Options are A, explore with the team potential adjustments in working agreements that address pacing concerns. B, share retrospective outcomes with leadership to advocate for more stable priorities. Option C, review organizational resource management policies to identify additional support options. Option D, emphasize the importance of upcoming milestones to sustain the current motivation level. Okay. Going back to the question. So it says agile and the developers experts fatigue with constant reprioritization of the features. That means the backlog is getting reprioritized very frequently, and the burnout indicators appears in the retrospectives that they are not able to have the what to say, the burnout indicators, like the team is getting burned out very quickly. The consistency of executing the activity is not there, but the velocity has not yet declined, but somehow they have managed to have the same velocity for every sprint. The sponsor insists on sustaining the same space. So the sponsor who is above the project manager says that the same space has to be maintained, but the burnout indicator says if this problem is not identified and the root cause is not addressed, this is not going to happen. So as is, what should the scrum master do first? So when you see here, it is like servant leader. The scrum master should serve as a servant leader for the team, and the team come first when it is in agile. So let's dig into the options. Explore with team potential adjustments in working agreements that address pacing concerns. So this seems to like, okay, what might be the different working agreements that the team can potentially adjust to address the pacing? That is, they are not having a consistent workload, right? Sometimes they do more and then get burnout, and sometimes there is no activity but the velocity remains. So that is the concern. So here this option address pacing concerns. So this option has both involvement of the team members collectively getting their agreements and thereby addressing the concern. So let's see the option B, share retrospective outcomes with the leadership to advocate for more stable priorities. This seems to be like the next step for or may not be an option as well. So why we are going to share this retrospective with the leadership is something kind of what the team has not done or done correctly or not done with the leadership. So this is not the ideal step of PMI, so we can directly eliminate this. Option C says review organizational resource management policies to identify additional support options. So again, it is, since it is agile, and this option is more suitable for predictive, where you have the policies to identify additional support options. So we can eliminate this. And going to the option D, emphasize the importance of upcoming milestones to sustain the current motivation level. Okay, this doesn't address the root cause, but this is like, okay, we have a deliverable to be done, this is a milestone, please team, put yourself back together and work on it. So again, it is like putting a pressure on the team rather than addressing what is their issue and how they can work in a different agreements to increase the pace of the project. So from these options, option A seems to be more relevant to this particular scenario. So moving on to the next question. So here, a hybrid program involving multiple departments is preparing for integration testing. A senior stakeholder demands priority changes to align with the competitor's recent product launch. Several teams have already locked schedules for the upcoming sprint. So which response is most effective? Log the stakeholder's request and review its impact during the next integrated change control cycle. B, analyze whether the request aligns with documented business case benefits before altering the scope. Option C, convene an immediate cross-team workshop to resequence deliverables around the stakeholders' request. Option D, address the request to the product backlog and flag it for PO prioritization in the next sprint review. Okay. So going back to the question, so this says a senior stakeholder demands priority changes to align with competitors' recent product launch, and they have already locked the schedules for the upcoming sprint. So it is a hybrid. So it has both agile and governance of CCB for implementing new changes at the end. So there is a request for the new priorities for the new product launch, and which response is most effective. Let's go back to the options once again. Here you are logging in the stakeholders request and review its impact during the next integrated change control cycle. So this is like directly getting into the action when there is a product launch, when there is a changes from the external. So first thing you need to do is like do an analysis with the business case or business objective or the application's vision or product vision which was initially started, and then we need to be like analyzing whether there will be a scope change or not. So this option A is like you log the request first and review its impact. That means like you started seeing like what is going to do for the change control cycle. So maybe or may not be an option. Let's dig into the option B. Analyze whether the request aligns with documented business case benefits before altering the scope. So here this option clearly says you first analyze the request with the business case even before altering the scope. Here one thing is like review its impact during the next integrated change control cycle. So the options may be almost similar, but the wordings in which they have put together is like this. Option B seems to be more relevant. Let's dig into C and D. Convene an immediate cross-team workshop to resequence deliverables around the stakeholders' request. So this is again an action item. So you conduct, this is like a collaborative option where you see like cross-team workshop is being conducted, but you resequence the deliverables even without understanding what analysis should be done even for the business case. So this seems to be like a direct proactive action for this particular scenario. Option D, add the request to the product backlog and flag it for prioritization in the next sprint review. So this option is more towards an agile, but the question here is of a hybrid nature. So from this option, I feel option B to be more relevant for this scenario. So we have come to the last question of this session. So let's dig into the question. During development of a fintech platform, the team learns that new data sovereignty laws require hosting customer data within national borders. A senior compliance officer joins the sprint review and insists all in progress features must be redesigned immediately. The product owner is traveling and the development team looks to you for the guidance. What is the best immediate step? Option A, capture the compliance request in the product backlog and ensure it is prioritized when the product owner returns. Collaborate with the compliance officer to assess whether the requirement invalidates the sprint goal. Option C, refer to the stakeholder engagement strategy to determine how regulatory voices should be integrated. Option D, present the compliance concern at the next retrospective to design with the team how to adapt. Your time starts now. Okay, so this question says the team learns the new data sovereignty law requires hosting customers' data within national borders. This seems to be a requirement. Okay, so a senior compliance officer is joining the sprint review meeting, and there he insists all in-progress features must be redesigned immediately. There in the sprint review, he sees and he says, based on the new requirement, the entire all in-progress features should be redesigned. So you don't have the product owner there, and the team is looking for what should be the next step. So this is the question, and the product owner says this is an product owner sprint review. These all gives you a clue about this is about agile. So coming back, get into an agile mindset and get into the options. Let's get into the options. Capture the compliance request in the product backlog and ensure it is prioritized when the product owner returns. So this is more of an agile, but you capture in the product backlog even before analyzing whether it is valid for the sprint goal or not. Even though if it is a data sovereignty loss, this means like it has to be change has to be done. Even putting it in the backlog and awaiting for the product owner to prioritize doesn't seems to be a best immediate step. So next is collaborate with compliance officer to assess whether the requirement invalidates the sprint goal. So go back to the sprint goal and see whether this in progress, because in the review they will be seeing whatever has been done, and in progress features has to be redesigned. So they have to collaborate with that officer to assess the requirements invalidates the sprint goal. If it is, then they have to go back and redo it again. So here the compliance officer seems to be the subject matter expert for this requirement. So this can be a collaborative option with them, can be a more relevant solution for this. So let's get back to the C. Refer to the stakeholder engagement strategy to determine how regulatory voices should be integrated. This sounds more towards the predictive, so you can eliminate it at the first go. Option D, present the compliance concern at the next retrospective to decide with the team how to adapt. This is like you take no action or you delay the action where it might impact the sprint. So with these options, I think collaborating with the compliance officer who's a SME can be a more towards a best solution for this scenario, because the product owner is not there. So we'll go on with option B. So with this, we have come to the end of the session.
Thank you, Jane. You did an awesome job. So let's have a round of applause. And thank you very much, Jane. For everyone who is my student, on Saturday, since tomorrow our session for batch 9 will be ended, we will have PMP booklet review, we will have flashcard review, and then the mind map session. So do join. That's a very important session. And on Sunday, I'll bring a special mock, either special or elite. I haven't decided. So it will be a 4 or 180 question answer session. So this Sunday, whatever you are doing, if you are my student, don't do that, and it's time to study. And as I always say that, thank you very much for joining. Highly appreciated, Jane, and I hope you enjoyed it also. With that, Assalamu alaikum, namaste, sat sri akal, good morning, good evening. One more thing, I just made my recorded video of 18 plans and 33 document live. So after 40 minutes, it will be live again on my YouTube channel. So if anyone wants to watch it, you are more than welcome. And with that, bye-bye.
I would have not been able to clear the exam if Amir Ali would have not been there. I would have not been.
I did not believe that I will be able to clear my PMP within a month.
I don't know what to say actually, like I'm kind of like really
I
trembling.
got my results and I was above target in all 3 categories.
Wow.
So